Through our council reports and committees, and everyone should have a committee list in front of them. So when we start the committee segment with those members that are listed for that committee, we would, nominate someone to be the chair of that committee when we go to that. Okay, and then once we go to each committee, and once we have a chair, then the chair of that committee will lead the discussion for the committee. And then the floor will be opened up to the public or other council members for any questions or concerns. Any question on that? So we're looking to get all the chairmen appointed tonight, and it's based on the committee members making those nominations. So first committee is infrastructure, grounds, streets, sidewalk. We got William Price, Tiffany Ardno, Reedell, and Jim Gott. Out of those members, are there any nominations for a chair? Nominate Rudy. Well,
Okay.
any other nominations? Mr. Bell, would you like to go ahead and lead the discussion with the infrastructure, ground, street, and sidewalk?
Yes. Currently, we're going to do some street repair this summer, and the prior council people, we had talked about a few streets that we were going to try to resurface. Has that went any further?
So right now we have some COP, certificate of participation funds left, approximately about $112,000. And I would recommend to the committee, I do have a list of streets, but I would open it up to any of the streets. And I've spoke to a few people that we may have to take a road trip one night in the city bus and go drive these streets and see which ones we're going to prioritize. I mean, I got a good idea what I think they are, but I want everyone to kind of see for themselves which streets need priority.
You said South Carolina, fourth to seventh, right? The one in Virginia.
Fifth to seventh on South Carolina. I mentioned one on Virginia Street, just off of North 4th Street, going down at least one block, maybe two. There's also a section of North 8th Street by the housing units. There's a couple more, and I'm kind of lost without my list in front of me. But there are, as we all know, there's a lot more in Kingman. Yeah, Riverview Park, you know, where you kind of come around.
Yeah, that's.
So those are some of the ones that just jump out at me right now. The list is a lot longer than that, but I would like to entertain the prospect of the city council going, taking a look at that. You know, we all can go individually and look at these. But
Is there any way we can check and see what traffic lines is for the most used to be judged?
yeah, so yes, there is a way of doing that. Through the Mark Twain Regional Council of Governments, they actually got devices that they can lay out onto the street and track vehicles coming and going. And we just have to go out there to carry, go pick it up. And pick up also, they got a traffic speed limit sign, so you can kind of track and see what speed limits are going. Just off the streets that I mentioned earlier, I think the priority number one, just in my opinion, it don't mean anything, but 5th Street from 5th to 7th on South Carolina, that one way. I mean, I know there's a lot of traffic there, but as far as looking at other streets, we'd have to do something.
Okay, Mayor, can you send everybody that list, and I guess we will go look at them. everybody has their own time schedule. We can look over the next several days.
Some of the smoother road costs. Right.
Does any of the committee members have anything they want to speak up about? Not at this time.
Well, eventually, we might like to see some new sidewalk finished on Georgia Street.
Yeah.
To 26th Street.
When that project was done, there was a couple of sections of sidewalk that should have been done, and they were not for some reason. That is something that needs to be corrected.
So kind of give you some updates on some of that. So the Mark Twain Regional Council of Governments, we are members of that organization. We pay a subscription, and they provide us a lot of administrative grant writing and administrative oversight to those grants. And the majority of those grants, some of the big ones that we're used to are CDBG grants, which is Community Development Block Grants. That comes from the Missouri State Economic Development. And so I spoke with Ian Gill last week, and she dropped off a brochure, and she said for this year that they are done accepting applications. So I clarified that statement that she made. I said, are you saying you're done taking applications, but not the Missouri Economic Development? Because they are a third party. They make their money by administering grants and applying grants. So they've taken so many applications that they're not willing to take anything more because it's more than they can handle. So one of the things that I will bring up under economic development was my recommendation for a new economic developer or director for the city of Louisiana. Previously, for the past few years, it was Diana Huckstep. My recommendation for our next regular council meeting will be John Phillips, and I've already had discussions with them about applying for these CDBG grants potential for some of these projects. So like the sidewalk project, it's typically a 20% match. So we've always done sidewalk grants in the past. And if we can roll that over into our CDBG grants for sidewalks, we can get 80% more, right? And, or, you know, more than 80%. The other thing, as far as grants, I'm looking for this, as far as just for an update. Everyone's seen this, Bill might be able to speak better to this, the storm that we had last Saturday. We had a inundation of flood waters from just the drainage systems that we had with the water runoff. And so our street department crews have been out cleaning up the streets, cleaning out the ditches, and a lot of rock everywhere. We're going to start tracking that time and effort and look into if there's any type of flash flood situation. I don't know the proper name of it, but if there's any type of reimbursement with FEMA, you know, just because of a flash flood. So we're looking into that, but also we are going around and we have a list of over 60 properties in Louisiana dealing with trash, dealing with tall grass and weeds, and dealing with structures that are not sound and need to be condemned and followed up with. So we have Mike Langley is our code enforcement, and he's been working on that. And so you will know for your constituents, if there's any constituents that get an orange warning on their property. His first attempt with the majority of these properties is to talk with them, the homeowners or whoever's responsible for the properties.
Give them a chance first.
Yeah.
Is he still working with Jeff?
Jeff is gone. He's gone. So, and then So anyways, go put out these notices. And by ordinance, my understanding is we gotta give due process, 5 days notice. And then what we'll do is have grounds crews go in and clean up the property as far as mowing it and weeding and put tax lien on the property. Is typically how we've done it in the past. There are some other properties in town that's got a lot of trash and debris. Trying to work with the property owners one-on-one, do it the easy way first. If they can't afford to do it, there's some avenues for assistance. And if that assistance not available for them, then as far as the city goes, we can look at cleaning up the property and putting a tax lien on the property. There's properties that's kind of been earmarked out for doing that. 321 North 4th Street. The tree fell on it. So grounds crews went out and they boarded up the windows. And we have the vendor that's going to come in and cut the tree up and get it out of there. You know, try to clean that up and cut the grass and stuff there. There's been, with the weather and everything else, past few weeks, there's been other trees that's blown over and hanging up high and working on those issues. I guess the gist of what I'm trying to say is code enforcement is starting to do a pretty good initiative of trying to address some of these issues.
Like the way it's being done this time, give the property owner a chance before.
A violation of that.
Yes.
I've been there, done that, I agree.
Yeah, you gotta give some, I've been there, done that too. You gotta give them some time and be willing to work with them. I think most people, when they're, you know,
They will do something.
they're willing to at least make progress. I've got a house in St. Louis. I've had, in the past, had some issues because I couldn't do it because I. And as long as you stay in contact with them and you're making a good faith effort to get it cleaned up, usually, you know. You don't want to be so punitive that there's a fine balance you got to strike, I think, between being punitive, but at the same time, give them a chance to make it right.
And I wanted to back up to the sewer ditches clogging. You do know there are people on Georgia Street that are in my ward. I know I know we've discussed this, or somebody has discussed it with you, that breaks up their leaves and they throw them in the gutter.
Right.
And I was just seen again a week or so ago that they dumped bags and it clogs that. And I think if you look back, you'll see that repair, they had to go out in the rain and unclog that particular drain.
I'm sure that's against an ordinance, just like grass clipping.
That is against an ordinance.
That
We have an ordinance.
And all they had to do is pick up the Star Hill for one, and for number two, I
I don't know
have
that these
seen
people
them.
are, I don't know these people personally, I know the person lives next to them. And she has said something to them multiple times about it, and they say, oh, they don't do that, but yet she's seen them do that. So it's just something that. you
So they
know.
take a video of it and see how you do.
The other thing right there, that same area was the steps. There's, you know, all the way down through here, it's wheelchair accessible till you get to that one block. And then there's 4 steps down and 4 steps back up to the sidewalk. Why wasn't they all made the same?
Right.
And that's in that same block where Lorna Wallace lives. There's a set of steps on both sides of the street.
It's not ADA.
Yeah.
That's the one
But those
problem.
are the ones that weren't replaced, that area wasn't replaced when they did those.
However, they.
I don't know.
I
for
don't think
sure.
it was, I think we
it
walked there and it's the one that comes kind of, red.
goes down at an end, the steps.
Marion,
I'm not good on
Marion.
streets, so I can.
Yeah, I think that part wasn't replaced. So when they did all that, they didn't do that. I know, yeah.
So probably this is the same place you're talking
I
about.
think it is.
All right.
Question on the ordinances on the yards and cleanup and stuff like that. Can that list be made accessible to landlords that are not in town? Because all of our properties, the yards and stuff are responsibility of the tenants. Okay, and so if y'all go out, put a thing on the door of the tenant. So in April, I worked 100 hours a week in April, so I was in Louisiana. And of course, the tenant's not gonna call and tell it. But instead of y'all going out and cleaning it up and putting a tax lien on a property that the renters don't own, is there a process that we can make so that I'm giving a heads up, or landlords are giving a heads up that their property's on that list, and that they can get hold of the tenants to push the issue, get it cleaned up.
Right.
That would make sense.
That would make
Yes, that makes sense.
If it can be done that way.
Well, or why can't we just look up every house they go to, who is the owner
Right.
on the tax?
And if nothing else, you could send somebody along so that they're to cut it to you,
Well,
charge your tenant for having
But
it.
I'm just saying, so is there a process in the world where if the ordinance is broke and Mr. Langley flags it, that the landowner is made aware of it, so he knows there's an issue before the tax lien gets
and
put
and
on
that
the
would be
property?
very easy for him to do, because he already does the rental inspections. He
Right.
knows who owns that and who's
Because
renting it out.
If y'all go out and flag all these rental houses, they don't care. I mean, let's just be 100% honest about it, they don't care, they're not gonna do anything about it, you know, they don't care. That's what I've been doing this afternoon, I actually just drove by and seen all the cars, so I stopped in, but I was driving around looking at yards, making sure people were on yards, the first time I've been down here in a month. You know, so, and then another thing, you mentioned the sidewalk, 2300 Georgia. There's this piece of that sidewalk that's out, and supposedly it was supposed to have been put back when they replaced the utilities. There's a utility box they put there, and they took that sidewalk out and they were supposed to put it back. When the utility company was supposed to put it back, so that might be something that we could follow up on to make them put that back.
Is that the one right across from the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
I think that is right. I do recall they laid that water main, tied that in there, and had to move utilities, and that was part of the utility company.
They moved the box.
Yeah,
The
the big box.
transformer box, and made a pretty good mess there. So,
Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
and yeah, it had been brought up before, but just since
Mhm.
we turned over a new leaf. we just-
Yeah, thank you.
That way, they, that's something that nobody has, that none of us this room has to pay for.
Right.
Okay, is that anything else from committee members? If not, we're done there.
Public Safety and Police Hiring Committee. Yeah, Bill Sutter, Robert Jordan, Marie Bell, and Clinton Keller.
I nominate Bill Sauter for chairman.
I got too many irons in the fire everywhere else. I won't carry anything I'll sit on, but I don't want to.
Okay, thank you. I'll nominate Mr. Jordan. Thank you.
All right.
I forget your nomination.
Mr. Jordan, go ahead and lead your committee, please.
I don't believe we have anything at this time. Do you, Mr. Baker? Or do you have something?
No, it was not a whole paper.
Bring it on up, sir. Bring it on up.
The main thing that we're trying to do right now is find some people, butts in the seats are the main thing we need, and
Well, are they gonna be good reliable?
right, and that's the thing, is making sure they're vetted. We had 2 applicants so far. I'm checking into the second one. The first one did not pass the background, so that's where we're at. You know, we can't make them appear. Working on getting body cams going. I delivered you guys emails with some of the information I've gotten on those. That's a vital thing that I want to get done as soon as possible. We had, not to go into too much detail since it's open session, but we had an officer that was trying to be proactive doing narcotics work, stuff like this, that got potentially exposed to some narcotics and ended up having to go to the hospital and be checked out. He ended up testing negative for them. However, the person that he arrested, the sheriff's office brought down and was overdosed. So working on getting, we currently have gloves, everything else, but making sure we have more of them, so we have them available in each car, the whole box, and not just relying on them to come up and get a couple gloves here and there and things like that, and more personal protective equipment for them. And
Do they have Narcan?
they do have Narcan. Like I said, this incident, the officer's fine, never tested positive. We Have had some slight side effects from it, but luckily that's it, so. And I believe this may not be police committee, but it kind of is, there's an ordinance for proposition for adding, basically making the mechanism so we're able to charge the fee to release vehicles from it. I think the mayor's distributed to everybody. And I think that's all I have. You all have any questions for me or anything that I can?
Good. Then, if anyone, does anyone else have anything? Okay, then public safety and police hire committee is good.
All right, ordinance committee, we got Mr. Sutter, Mr. Jordan, Mrs. Sherman, and Mr. Gott.
I recommend Glenda Sherman for chair. Recommended yet.
Smiling behind your hand.
That ain't what you,
You can't see me.
that's not what she's doing behind her.
All right, you guys, and right now, I don't have anything because I knew and did not know exactly what I had all this things.
You're taking this seat there, Glenda?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple things I got for you. And then I'll let you. The one that was passed out was the ordinance for the tow fee release, or the tow release for the vehicles. Yes, that's it. Yep, that's it. So this is was sent to Mary, our city attorney, for her review and modifications as necessary. Hopefully at our next regular council meeting, we'll go ahead and give its first reading. One thing I just want to ask, or check with the council, is that whenever we pass ordinances, that we give two separate readings on two separate nights, unless it is an emergency. And that we deem that we could get this done in one night, but I think for public perception and for them to have an opportunity to see this and read this, I don't think there's any emergency for us to collect $50 for the form of motion. I don't think so. It's just, we can't take any actions tonight.
Question something on this, the last part about the, they have to get the release and the impound fee. They have to get the form and I'm kind of stuck on that, like some other people were about that $50 have to be here between 8 and 4:30. Can John keep those forms and collect that $50? And then it would all, they wouldn't have to worry about having to be here during hours, working hours. Or Saturday or Sunday.
Can I address that?
Yes.
Having been through that situation down in the city. The reason they had us do a release there was to make sure that the police didn't need that vehicle for anything else. So it had to be signed off, because my daughter was in an accident down there and they towed her vehicle and I had to go to the police department, sign off on a thing that they didn't need it, then go to the tow yard, pay them the storage fee and the tow.
And that kind of goes back to having an officer for you to accept them.
So
That is a bond, whatever you call it. Bonded.
So a simple thing on this is whenever in chief, you can probably, explain it better, but we gotta make sure the car is legal to leave. Whether it's insurance or whether it's able to drive or if it's being towed. I mean, that could be something that maybe, when you impound the vehicle, you would know right away what's holding them.
Right.
If it's a legal issue, and then that could be, and if they don't have any issues with that, I mean, it has to be something legal for them to impound in the first place, right?
I totally understand all that. I just hate seeing people have to pay a Saturday and Sunday impound fee just because they can't give the release to give to the person towing it.
So
It's kind of, I know in the past they used to have officers bonded and that's not it. I don't, you know, I know nobody likes to hear that, back in the past, this is the way they did it, but it was fairer, I think, to.
But we're not
people.
even counting vehicles on our property.
Mhm.
So one of the things, and you take a look at the contract that we passed with the Copies, then that would have to be, addressed in that, and it may be addressed in that, I don't have it in front of me, to where they can't charge for Saturday and Sunday if they can't get a tow release. Now, if they got a tow release on Friday and they go pick it up on Saturday, you know, I don't know.
Like I said, I just hate to see them pay 2 extra days when they can't get the, at least they do during working hours. That's my opinion.
Going good business.
Yeah, we're here to help them.
River City.
So the big thing is, we should be charging any storage fees unless it's able to be released. Yeah, if they can't get a tow release on a Saturday, then they shouldn't be charged for Saturday.
And
So
I
it would
agree
be
with that.
something we have to
If
talk
they can't,
to John Pratt.
right, if they can't get it, if
And
they
so
can't
that comes
get
with them.
it released on a Saturday or Sunday, then they cannot be able to be charged, that they can only be charged on the day that they can be released.
Yeah, I'm like Jim, it's called route, city route.
It might be a situation too to look at, that maybe let John collect the fee for us.
That's why, yeah. That was brought up.
But-
make
but-
sure it's gotta be.
but it's gotta be
grass,
signed- it's gotta be signed off. But it's gotta be signed off by.
I was saying, you still have to have an
Yeah.
officer.
Signed
Well,
off.
whatever officer on duty can sign it off, wouldn't they be able to?
Well, the
Wouldn't see a
chief.
problem with that.
But anyway, this is, so this is the draft for the ordinance. So
We don't know, we don't ask.
what was there's another ordinance. I was looking at. What was that? Anyway.
I just took all that out. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the other thing. I'm repeating myself now, but 2 readings on 2 separate acts. Yeah.
Can we say something at this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, still waiting to hear from the city attorney so we can set up that meeting. Perhaps you could, gently remind her when we get that done, because, until we can sit down with her, we're just kind of stuck in the water.
You have her contact information?
No, and in fact, the night that I talked to her, she took my email address, but she didn't give me hers. So if you could reach out to her and just kind of give her a general reminder that we need to get, because we can't really move forward until we get that done. Once we have that meeting though, I think we'll be able to wrap it up fairly quickly.
All right.
Can I just say-
Yeah.
The ordinance committee? Have they thought about an ordinance, or you probably haven't because you ran into it, right? An ordinance that addresses social media and who handles social media for an official page and how that has to be given over if that person is no longer with the city. As y'all know, we've had a few issues. Yeah, I was trying to think of the word, thank you. A few issues. And then I looked and looked and looked, I cannot find a single ordinance that addresses social media.
I'll share with the committee what our attorneys have provided us. It's been recommended before from our city attorneys. So we do have a rough draft that I can forward to the council.
And the other one is that a year ago, they changed the ordinance addressing the cat coalition and feeding the cats and all that, and then they decided that they just weren't going to enforce it. Well, if you pick and choose what ordinance you're enforcing and what you're not enforcing, that sets a precedent for somebody to say, well, you're not doing that one.
Actually, when we have our meeting next week, I was gonna address that and try to get, well, I've got the old ordinance. I'd like to just change it back,
If that makes sense.
just change it back to the way it was. I was gonna discuss that next week.
So I challenge the ordinance committee. Take a look at the ordinances that's been changed this past year. And we can provide you a list of those ordinances that's been changed and just review and see if it makes sense.
The main one I think that we really need to review is the one with the attendance of Zoom versus being here in person.
I agree with you.
And there's a couple others. I remember there's a hot topic, as far as duties of the administrator, duties of the chief.
Yes.
And duties of that. So there's a litany of ordinances. So.
We'll bring them forward, we'll look at them. We think it's.
Do they get to use the city attorneys to assist in drafting these?
No, so here's the rule of thumb, like this ordinance right here, the chief drafted this. Bring to the committee, you all have your input, and then the city attorney can look at it, 90% of the work's already been done. It means grammar and the legal sense, they can work on it, or she can work on it. But no, we're not, we're trying to save some money. Economic Development and Tourism Committee. We have William Price, Tiffany Ardeno, Linda Sherman, and Clinton Keller. Nominations for chair.
Yeah, I like that. I don't know.
Any objections or any? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have anything on it.
Yeah, so we got
All right, we're within then.
I got your back.
We're within for tonight.
When do these, can we have a list of when these meetings meet so we can actually?
That's,
That's the second Monday of every,
Right
second
here.
Monday of every
Right
month.
here?
And now if any of the committees wants to break away and have their own separate meeting, they can do that.
So this is it, this is our meeting agreement.
Unless you all want, like the police
I thought we
committee,
had separate meetings or whatever.
yeah, the police committee and hiring committee, we would do separately last week. Because,
We're hiring.
yeah,
That's inclusive.
all right, John, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm really excited about taking on this economic development thing. You know, I've been sitting around for a long time trying to figure out how I can best help the city, and I think my skill set is probably geared more toward doing this than, you know, counting pencils or, you know, figuring out what streets to pave or whatever. Because I'm more of a, I mean, I am a good administrator, don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of administrative experience, but I'm more of a visionary and catalyst. I know how to flesh, I'm really good at fleshing out the big picture and then breaking it down into parts and setting priorities, and leading people where we all think we need to go. So that all being said, all of you should have a copy of this draft in your paperwork. This is a economic development planning analysis that I did back in September of last year. I just did it as a citizen, okay? I had no connection with the city or anything like that. This is about 80 hours of work. And basically what I did here was I sat down and I analyzed all the census data for the town. And then I went into the comprehensive plan, which was supposed to address some of these issues. And I dealt with the areas of the comprehensive plan that actually deal with economic development and land use. Because if you tie in economic development with planning and zoning, it's all about land use. How do we effectively use the land, number one, and then how do we effectively build an economy that utilizes the land according to the comprehensive plan. Since we have a formalized comprehensive plan, everything that I read says that has to be the guide in terms of how we do things. So, not getting into a long synopsis of all this, I wanted it to be in your packet because you've got so many new people here. Take time and sit down and read this. And I've talked to Mayor Carter about this, and this is gonna be kind of the template that we're gonna use to try to start moving forward. This is not comprehensive at all. All right, not even close to being comprehensive. But I think it's a good first stepping stone. And what I envision doing here is, I really want to approach all this systematically. And you've heard me talk about the policy process. And I think the biggest thing we need to do before we do anything is to sit down as a group and get input on where we want the city to go. Okay, we need to start developing an agenda for economic development, and then we need to start setting priorities. Because I've been looking at this for almost a year now. And no offense intended, but I don't think anybody has an idea of how much work this is gonna take. This is gonna take years. And, we only got our little piece of time that we're given. And we can do this in a positive way, but we've got to quit taking, what I've noticed is there are a lot of really good intentioned people trying to do things. That's great. And we don't want to discourage that. But for a long time, it's been like just throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. And a lot of times things fall through the crack, you lose initiative, priorities get changed. So what I want to do is bring some sort of systematic process to where we start setting priorities. We start, putting agendas together and start moving forward with some of this stuff. It's silly to write grants if you don't have a project. And so many times we thought, oh, here's a grant we can apply for. Whoa, what are we going to use it for? Okay, my approach is the direct opposite. We set the agenda, we set the priorities, then we go out there and we start looking for ways to fund it. And you attack one problem at a time. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. We don't have the staff here, we don't have any of that to really do more than one or two things at a time. And so hopefully in the next few weeks, we can sit down as a group and start prioritizing things and looking at things and having a frank and forthright exchange of ideas as to where we want to see the city go. And talking to people, just hanging out with people, a lot of people have no idea what they want to do. Oh, we just want the city better. Well, that's all great and wonderful. I think we all want that. But how do we even define that? And so, it's going to take time. And I'm not going to stand there and make any promises yet, because it's going to take a long time just to figure out where we're at before we can start moving forward. But I'm confident that if we can bring some systematization to this whole thing, that we can start moving forward. And right now, another thing we need to look at is start getting some little wins. It's great that all these restaurants and stuff are coming in. That's a win for the city. If we can do something with the riverfront, that's a win for the city. But in the long term, in order for the biggest problem facing the town, as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir, is revenue. Is revenue. And it's great that the arcade's open and all that, but the amount of revenue that is bringing into the town is infinitesimal. Okay? And unless you have 100 restaurants located here, it's not going to make much of a dent into the revenue situation. And so we have to start looking for other things. I'm going to, here in the next week or so, I'm going to call Jeff City once they're out of session. I'm going to try to get out there. I've been working with Chad Perkins a little bit and see if I can get some meetings set up just to go out there and familiarize myself with the state economic development people, get in front of them, because a lot of this is going to be relationships. It's going to be developing relationships with people. And I've been doing some of that, but now that I have a little authority in terms of a title, I can go out and speak more authoritatively and represent the city better than as a private citizen. And I've been doing a lot of stuff just on my own. Okay, so, I'm excited. Yeah.
Who's gonna regulate you?
Ah,
I work for this. I don't work for anybody.
I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is, just because you can go, you have the title to go say something, doesn't mean you do it without.
Oh, no. Yeah, okay, now I see. No, I don't do anything unless the mayor and council. approve it.
Okay. Well, that's what I was asking.
No, I'm not a free agent here, okay?
Well, I didn't know.
No,
That's why.
I'm sorry. No, you're right, you're absolutely right. No, I don't do anything unless you all sign off on it. That's the thing. All I'm doing, I'm ex-military. One of the things you learn in a combat unit is you do recon. And that's what I'm doing.
Well, let's go ahead and move
We're
on.
done, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Keller, I got just two more things. on economic development. So the council authorized to work on a contract with the LVCB as far as Visitors and Convention Bureau with Louisiana. That contract, I got a red line contract from Susan Frugeau and Jody and Kate, I believe is her name. And that's to Mary to look at for review. There's only two really big things about it. Is basically if the contract's terminated, as far as where those funds will go. You know, in previous contracts, the funds go back to the city to hold until we find someone to do the job. Or they changed that to reference RSMO 67.1000, which doesn't say anything about what to do with the funds. So just some minor changes that we need to get our city attorney to give an opinion on. Also, I want to commend concerned citizens and Elks Lodge for the program that they're initiating this year to provide assistance to those in need for cleaning up their properties. So we look forward to doing that. And also just a reminder for everyone, Bluegrass Festival this weekend. Anything we can do to help with that. Jody is always looking for volunteers and such. Next on the Housing, Health, Senior Services and Disadvantaged Committee, we have William Price, Tiffany Lardno, Linda Sherman, Clinton Keller. Entertain a nomination for a chair.
They can nominate Kevin, even though she's not here, right?
I was wondering that.
Well, I was thinking Mr. Price, because he's not on anything yet. Because he's not on anything yet. Well, he's on it, he's just not a chairperson yet. I think it'd be nice if each one of us had a chair.
All right, Mrs. Sherman.
Oh, I thought we were going good.
You nominated yourself if you want it. You're supposed to up, like, I'm on it, so.
Well, I just saw that, senior citizens, and, what it concerns that I'm. But as of right now, I will need advising from the mayor of what all is in this committee, actually.
Okay.
Other than just what it says. How do we go about? How do the committee go about?
You have to go to all the old homes and talk to people.
So we'll review the ordinance and then we'll check. Enterprise Public Utilities Committee, we got Mr. Sutter, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Bell, and Mr. Guy. Open the nomination for chair.
I nominate Mr. Guy.
Well, who's the second, whatever.
I'll take it.
He's-
I'll take it. He's bigger than me. He'll be- I'll take it.
So, Chairman Jordan, you had a,
No, I do not.
all right,
So exactly what is it?
so enterprise is what we call our public utilities. It's water, sewer, and so forth. And I'm gonna add a few things to this that would have fell under the street as well. Council did authorize the purchase of a tractor up to $16,000, so they're looking at that. Yeah, I know that some of this intermingles with street, not just enterprise stuff, but the grader, we do have a potential buyer on that, but any of those two things will come before the council for approval again.
Have we had any bids for the tractors?
That's one of the things I was wanting to get from the crew. What do we want? Because if we're buying something used, going after specs, right?
Well, the question is, does it need to be a full behind or a smart that comes down? For the,
We got a brand new brush hog pull behind right now.
okay,
But I know, but I do have some thoughts on what you're bringing up as far as the swing arm and stuff like that.
because there's gonna be places that they can't get to, you gotta do it by hand, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, and we got a pretty good working relationship with the road district right now.
Uh-huh.
A mutual relationship as far as
Good.
working on that. And if you notice Allen Street, they're off at 7th.
Yeah.
They went in there and cleaned that all up for us. And they do up around the cemetery as well for us whenever we need it. And so there's gonna be more to come from that down the road.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to put in the committee's ear right now is, you know, they got the street sweeper going. It barely powers itself and cleans going up in that incline. So one of the things that would assist greatly with the enterprise and the street is a vacuum truck. I don't know if you've probably seen them down in the city, big tanks, big old hose on the end of it, clean out storm drains, clean up debris out of ditches or whatever.
Well, and not only that, but with those, what I've seen those do with those is in the fall. They go through the cities and everybody breaks their leaves to the road and they go through and they vacuum up all those leaves. I've seen that, that's what they used to do when I worked on the Freeport area with my landscaping, they would come through that little back and just. So that takes care of the leaves going into the drains and people break their.
But you gotta find out where the best place it is. I don't know of any place local that has one of those.
So what we're looking at, we'll defer it to the department heads. What they're, you know, what's gonna be, make the most sense.
Yeah.
They got stuff that pulls behind the trailer. They also got combinations, that's a combination street sweeper and vacuum truck. It may be the situation, but when we bought the last one, I've been told that we would be better off to keep our old one before we spent $20-something thousand for that used one. Right?
Definitely.
So something to look for down the road, but we gotta really have a good grasp of what our finances are before we make those type of commitments. Anything else? Community and Employee Relations Committee. Got Mr. Sutter, Mrs. Arno, Mr. Sherman, and Mr. Gott.
Well, I guess I'll take it.
If you're Mr. Personable, you can get in there and take these possibly.
That's what I said, you did good at it.
You don't even do that. Oh, you mean.
So basically working, you know, with employees in the community, just trying to build that relationship. And I gave some real thoughts on that. Council, that's all that I have for committee work, unless anyone's got anything new. Well, Hearing none. Well, good evening.
Oh, my goodness.
No, I mentioned to Ryan, bring out.
We did all.
We got something.
All by yourself.
No, we got dots on there. See, this was, oh, they left, not left.
Yeah, I know.